It's February 28th here in Seoul, and I'm Thani. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with the government's legal action against a massive walkout by doctors. South Korea's health ministry filed a complaint with the police against 5 doctors affiliated with the Korea Medical Association, seeking a probe on charges of violating medical law and obstruction of justice. A government emergency meeting is taking place this afternoon, ahead of the government's deadline of Thursday for doctors to return to their posts. NATO countries, including the US, the UK, and Germany, have rejected the idea of deploying ground troops to Ukraine, which French President Emmanuel Macron had earlier said should not be ruled out. The Kremlin warns a ground intervention by any NATO country would mean a direct clash between Russian forces and the Western military alliance. North Korea is running its munitions factories at full capacity to supply Russia and has already sent nearly 7,000 containers of weapons to Moscow for use against Ukraine, according to South Korea's defense chief. In return, the regime has been given much-needed food and other necessities. The South Korean government has pushed ahead with taking a stern stance against doctors who are refusing to return to their work and patients by taking a first round of legal action. Now, a back-to-work order by Thursday, which is tomorrow, is still in place. Our Shin Ha-young starts us off.
The Ministry of Health and Welfare on Tuesday filed a complaint against 5 doctors protesting the government's expansion of the medical student admission quota. Affiliated with the Korean Medical Association, these doctors are charged with violating local medical laws and obstructing justice. This marks the first legal action taken by the government since the start of a mass walkout by trainee doctors about a week ago. The same day, the government announced that it has completed all legal reviews for judicial proceedings against trainee doctors who do not return to their posts by Thursday. This comes a day after the government issued the return-to-work deadline of February 29 for trainee doctors who have staged walkouts from hospitals to protest an increase in the medical school admissions quota.
Certain regulations can be implemented to safeguard the public interest and maintain social order. We have concluded the legal review, confirming that the measures align with the current medical system.
To respond quickly, especially in situations threatening the lives of patients, an immediate response team was established within the Health Ministry on Tuesday. The ministry announced a plan to speed up the enactment of the Special Act on Handling of Medical Accidents. It aims to exempt doctors from liability or criminal punishment in the event of a medical accident, thereby reducing the legal liabilities that doctors would otherwise bear in such cases. Meanwhile, during a meeting on cooperation between central and local governments also on Tuesday, President Yoon stated that medical reform should not be subject to negotiation.
의료는 복지의 핵심입니다. 어린이와 노인, 장애인을 비롯한 의료 약자를 보호하는 것은 정부의 핵심 국정기조인 약자 복지와도 직결되어 있습니다. 그래서 이는 협상이나 타협의 대상이 될 수 없고 대소도 안 됩니다.
President Yoon emphasized the importance of reforming the stagnant medical school enrollment to ensure essential medical services and prepare for increasing demand due to rapid aging. He also urged cooperation between central and local governments to prevent gaps in patient care. The Korean Medical Association criticized the government, saying that suspending licenses and taking legal action against residents would further worsen the situation and eliminate any chance of their return to hospitals. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
The Yoon administration's efforts to boost the nation's all-time low birth rate continue. Ahead of the new school year, President Yoon on Tuesday called on all of Korean society to support a nationwide childcare initiative. Oh Soo-young reports.
It's said that it takes a village to raise a child, but in South Korea, there will be a centralized government system to reduce the burden of childcare and education. That's according to President Yoon on Tuesday, as announced at a meeting of leaders of the nation's 17 local governments and their respective educational authorities. Ahead of the new school year, which begins in March, the president addressed the pilot launch of his administration's childcare program for elementary schools nationwide. meaning continual care, the so-called newborn program will offer parents and guardians 2 hours of free extracurricular sessions for their children before and after school during hours that overlap with their commute and work. This comes as South Korea seeks to resolve its chronic demographic crisis, the lowest birth rate in the world, averaging 0.78 births per woman, with more and more adults feeling unable to afford or have the time to raise children in a fiercely competitive society.
우리 사회에서 학교만큼 안전하고 아이를 믿고 맡길 수 있는 곳이 없습니다. 학부모는 돌봄 걱정 없이 마음껏 경제 사회 활동을 하고 아이들은 안전하게 돌봄을 받으며 건강하게 성장을 하기 위해서 학교가 늘봄 학교의 중심이 돼야 합니다.
The program will kick off at 2,700 schools for first graders in the first half of this year, offering extracurricular classes based on popular requests such as culture, sports, arts, digital technology, and self-development. From the second semester, the program will expand to 6,000 schools and cover second grade students from next year, working up to sixth graders by 2026. Yoon emphasised that the burden of childcare and education should shift away from parents to the public sector, announcing that the central government will establish a headquarters for the newborn program as an all-out support system. According to a senior presidential aide, current Deputy Prime Minister and Education Minister Lee Joo-ho, known for his pioneering policies and academic work on education and innovation, is expected to lead the pan-government body. The programme will launch a year earlier than planned, with 700 more schools taking part in the first semester due to high demand. Lee has pledged administrative support as well as a feedback system to heed teachers' voices. 오수영, Arirang News.
Following remarks from world leaders over possible troop support for Ukraine, NATO quickly shut down the idea. Russia also sent a stark warning that if NATO member countries do send troops, conflict between the military alliance and Russia is inevitable. Lee Seung-jae has more.
The issue of sending troops was raised at a meeting in Paris on Monday, where European countries discussed ways to support Ukraine in its fight against Russia. There, Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico raised the idea of troop support for Ukraine.
Several NATO and European Union member states are considering sending troops to Ukraine at a bilateral level.
French President Emmanuel Macron followed up, saying that there is no agreement on sending troops to Ukraine, but nothing should be ruled out, further stating that everything must be done so that Russia does not win. Looking to avoid further complicating the situation, EU and NATO member countries quickly expressed that they have no intention of having their countries send troops to support Ukraine. They include the leaders of Poland, the Czech Republic, and Hungary, who during a meeting in Prague strongly shot down the idea. EU and NATO member nations like Germany, the United Kingdom, Italy, and Spain also rejected deploying soldiers. The Pentagon on Tuesday also expressed an unwillingness to send military forces, despite being one of the biggest supporters of Ukraine during the 2-year-long war.
We have no plans to send U.S. service members to fight in Ukraine. The president has been pretty clear on that, and that continues to be our position.
Meanwhile, French Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné on Tuesday clarified Macron's comments that Paris could send troops to Ukraine, saying the troops could be used in specific ways, such as mine clearance, while not directly fighting against Russia. Meanwhile, the Kremlin sent a stark warning to NATO, saying that any troop support for Ukraine would inevitably result in direct conflict with Russia. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
North Korea has reportedly shipped close to 7,000 containers of weapons to Russia for use against Ukraine, which in return allowed the regime to get food and other much-needed necessities. Our Choi Min-jung has the details.
North Korea is allegedly operating some of its munitions factories at full capacity to supply Russia with weapons. Speaking to reporters on Monday, South Korea's Defense Minister Shin Won-sik said that some of North Korea's arms factories are operating at 30% capacity due to the shortage of raw materials, but others are now operating at full capacity to supply weapons to Russia. The defense chief said that over the past 6 months, the regime has shipped some 6,700 containers to Russia. This works out at approximately 3 million rounds of 152mm artillery shells or 500,000 122mm artillery shells. Shin also assessed that cruise missiles launched 5 times this year alone by the North are likely to be exported to Russia as well. In exchange for weapons, North Korea is reportedly receiving food from Russia to stabilize its food prices. According to Shin, Russia has sent approximately 30% more containers to North Korea than those shipped the other way. The North is widely anticipated to have received satellite technology from Moscow as well, but the defense minister expressed skepticism, saying that it's showing no signs of functioning and is merely orbiting the Earth and not carrying out any sort of reconnaissance activities. After 2 failures last year, North Korea succeeded in launching its first spy satellite into orbit last November. Shin hinted at the possibility of North Korea launching its next reconnaissance satellite before South Korea launches another of its own from Florida in early April. Amid escalating tensions on the Korean peninsula, the defense chief reiterated that South Korea will never strike first, but will maintain a firm defense posture to counter North Korea's provocations immediately, powerfully, and to the end. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Fully transparent, see-through laptop and a ring that tracks your health are among the items being showcased at the world's leading trade fair for mobile technology and services, MWC, which is well underway in Barcelona. We're joined by tech strategist Choi Young-wook for more. Welcome.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. AI once again takes center stage at this year's edition. What does this say about where AI is and the current tech trend?
As like a CS 2024 early this year in Las Vegas, AI is one of the key themes. We learned through this year's MWC. It means AI is being pervasive into our life, actually real life. AI becomes more and more infrastructure like electricity and internet. AI transforms every industrial domain and our life into smarter and hyper-personalized. AI becomes new digital tools for everyone like a PowerPoint and Excel. Of course, smartphone become AI phone, practically really smarter phone. That's why MWC pick AI as the main agenda. Telcos and phone makers gather to collaborate in order to occupy this new market and create new service models. On-device AI is also very important keyword at this MWC to empower smartphone, more powerful and efficient device. ARM, NVIDIA, Qualcomm, Samsung, SK, and more companies compete for winning this opportunity, this new age of AI too. The most important trend we have to bear in mind here is that we will apply AI to everywhere.
It looks like MWC is an extension of CES that we saw last month. I cannot help but point out how Samsung came up with a smart ring called the Galaxy Ring. How big is its debut in the AI-driven healthcare market then?
Yes, actually there are 3 key drivers for digital healthcare market. One is the smartphone as a personal information hub. Second is the wearable devices like a smart watch, band, and smart rings for real-time data monitoring. And the last one is the AI based on large health and medical data, which enables digital healthcare applications more accurate, faster, and smarter. Samsung smart rings run a week with one single charge and do sleep tracking, nap detection, blood oxygen sensing, or workout insight, 24/7 heart rate monitoring, and more. Unlike other wearable, this ring is very comfortable to wear, and also it is fashionable, so that it could be adopted widely to many people. There are several smart rings are already in the market, but Samsung attract more attention and sales.
We are seeing whole new levels of AI. I have to ask you, any particular gadget or services that caught your attention at this year's event then?
Yes, I can say there are several keywords: China, metaverse, and display. There are many Chinese makers bring AR and MR device to continuously challenge the metaverse market. As like Apple and Meta, Huawei research on mixed reality device now. And also at MWC, Oppo, TCL, and Xreal show several AR glasses for more advanced features. Lenovo also show a new laptop computer with a transparent display. Huawei, Oppo, Xiaomi bring new low-level and foldable phones. The key things we need to know here, display innovation keep enabling many hardware form factor variation.
Right, Chinese firms appear to have made a big comeback at MWC after making their absence at CES over in the U.S. South Korea also joined the joint statement of principles for 6G, along with 10 other countries, including the U.S. and Japan. 6G sounds still so far away. Why such a statement already?
Yes, it is actually, one of the key news. It is significant in that 10 countries have agreed to support open, globally interoperable, and secure network connections while collaborating based on principles for research and development of 6G wireless communication system. It should be developed through transparent and consensus-based decision-making processes and also built on global standard that promotes sustainability, interoperability, openness, and more, actually, security. Actually, there's no China among 10 countries, and also it is driven by US. What that means is that the more important fundamental reason is to preemptively check China through cooperation and to have safe and resilient supply chain against China. That is very important, actually, trend.
Right, the competition never hurts for us consumers. All right, thank you so much for your insight this morning. We appreciate it. You have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The White House says Seoul and Washington are not only tackling political conflicts together, but also economic crises around the world. Now, that includes U.S. support for Korean firms functioning in the U.S. and vice versa for American companies. Yoon has more.
South Korea and the U.S. have reaffirmed that their economic cooperation has further expanded their alliance beyond military security. Seoul's Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol met with the U.S. Director of the National Economic Council, Lael Brainerd, on Tuesday at the White House to discuss the two countries' economic synergy. According to the Foreign Ministry, Cho assessed that economic cooperation between the two countries has strengthened based on the Seoul-Washington alliance and the 2012 Chorus Free Trade Agreement. He also evaluated that the U.S. government is creating results beneficial to both countries thanks to close consultation with the Korean government in implementing economic policies such as the CHIPS and Science Act and the Inflation Reduction Act. Echoing the sentiment, Brainerd said she appreciated that the alliance has grown beyond military security and that it's now working to respond to global economic uncertainties as well. She also stressed that South Korean companies operating in the U.S. and American companies operating in South Korea are contributing greatly to creating a stronger supply chain ecosystem as well as quality jobs. The two sides agreed to continue cooperating closely in the future. To do that, Minister Cho requested that the U.S. ensure that South Korean companies continue to receive treatment and incentives commensurate with their investment scale and contribution level in the U.S. Yoon, Arirang News.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg arrived in South Korea on Tuesday night, marking his first visit to the country in a decade. Zuckerberg arrived on a private jet via the Gimpo Business Aviation Center at around 10:40 p.m. He is set to meet with LG Electronics CEO Cho Ju-won on Wednesday. The two are expected to discuss their collaboration on the design and production of Quest, as the South Korean tech giant is in charge of the design and production of Meta's next-generation VR headset. Zuckerberg is also set to meet with Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Jae-yong on Wednesday to promote collaboration in the AI sector. He'll also sit down with President Yoon on Thursday to discuss the future of AI and countermeasures against fake news.
Good morning, I'm Choi Ji-hee, and now we turn over to stories from around the world. We begin today in Poland, where thousands of farmers gathered in Warsaw to demonstrate against the EU's climate policies and agricultural imports from Ukraine. The protest is one of many across Europe over the past weeks and is a sign that the West is experiencing fatigue in supporting Ukraine as they continue to resist Russia's invasion. According to Warsaw City Hall, some 10,000 people participated in the protest in front of the Polish parliament, demanding the withdrawal of Poland from the EU's Green Deal, which they deemed too costly, and calling for a ban on imports of Ukrainian grain, which they argue is having a negative impact on Poland's agricultural industry. Ahead of the upcoming EU parliamentary elections in June, protests by farmers in other countries, such as Italy, Spain, and Belgium, have emerged as a prominent political issue. Heavy rainfall in southeastern Peru over the last week has led to devastating floods, displacing thousands. At least 2,800 people are struggling for aid amid power outages, a scarcity of drinking water, and a spike in dengue fever. Southeastern Peru has been battered by relentless downpours, with forecasters having warned of an additional 72 hours of heavy rainfall. The rivers, including Acre, have swelled beyond their banks, inundating Inapari city of Tahuamanu province, a lifeline-like region for communities across the borders of Brazil and Bolivia. The overflowing rivers not only submerged streets, but also engulfed at least 600 houses, isolating the region from everyday life. With at least 32 people having died of dengue fever due to the heavy rains and a heat wave leading to a spike in the disease, Peru declared a health emergency in most parts of the country on Monday. French football superstar Kylian Mbappe joined a dinner on Tuesday hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron from Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, who begins his two-day state visit to France. The main reason for the emir's visit was the negotiations in the French capital for a truce in Gaza, where Qatar would play a role in mediating an immediate and permanent ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, Mbappe, who plays for Qatari-owned Paris Saint-Germain, is set to leave the club once his contract ends in June. The player confirmed his exit earlier this month. Brazil's Federal Police and Environmental Protection Agency have said that they have repatriated native parrots and monkeys suspected of having been illegally trafficked to Togo. Several countries supported the repatriation operation, and the animals, including 12 parrots of the Lear's macaw species and 17 golden lion tamarins, were returned to Brazil over the weekend, according to a statement from the Federal Police. Each macaw is reportedly worth between $60,000 and $100,000 US, and the tamarins are worth $15,000 each on clandestine markets. 4 men involved in the illegal trafficking were arrested.
Good morning. We are expecting big gaps in readings today. Daegu is waking up to sub-zero temperatures, but highs will rise fast to the low teens by the afternoon. Be sure to dress accordingly and take good care of yourself. You really don't want to get sick around this time. There is rain in the forecast tomorrow in southern provinces, and it will bring a sharp drop in readings. Starting off March on a freezing low of -5 degrees in the capital and staying freezing all day. But for today, central areas are having a warmer start to the morning than yesterday. Then highs in most places will go up similar to slightly higher than yesterday. Seoul topping out at 9 degrees, Daejeon, Daegu make it to 11 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies in store nationwide with decent air quality today. Expect to have spring cold over the Independence Movement Day weekend, but skies will be sunny in most parts of Korea. Take the weather into account for your plans, but temperatures return to season norms early next week. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for Thursday's edition at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.